Mobster Chronicles breaking news.
Welcome to Mobster Chronicles. This video is part 2 of a video on anal gummer Lindbloom, YouTube's biggest mob dork, mafia groupie, wannabe and liar, where we expose then conclusively disprove all of his ridiculous lies and mafia fairy tales. In part 1, we proved once and for all that Gummy is not related to reputed Detroit mob boss Jack Tocco, and that he did not have a sit-down with reputed Detroit mob's underboss Anthony Zerilli and street boss Anthony Giacalone, all of whom are now deceased. He didn't know them and never, ever met them. Ever. So without further delay, let's watch Gummy get his ass kicked some more.
I'm just telling stories from my life that, I think people will find interesting.
But then there's a couple weird spazzes who just constantly, he's lying, he's proving it up. Like, if somebody makes a video with a fake name, fake handle, fake voice, fake everything, and twists everything you say to make you look bad, who's fake? Who's the fraud? You know what I'm saying? This is really me. My name is Alan Gunnar Lindbloom.
Once upon a time, I got shot while robbing a drug dealer.
But I have been shot twice. And one time was a drug robbery. I was robbing this Chaldean, it's an Arabic guy, for a quarter kilo of heroin. So this is $20,000 worth of heroin. So I tell him I need a quarter kilo of heroin. Tell him to meet me in Detroit, in the city, in a parking lot behind a restaurant. I was robbing a dope dealer 10 years later. It's on the front lawn, broad daylight in the hood.
First, it was in a parking lot behind a restaurant. Then it was in the daytime on someone's front lawn.
Pull up next to him, get out of the car. He hands me a bag with a quarter kilo, big block of heroin. I throw it in my backseat. I hand him $20,000, right? And we're still talking, we're between two cars. And he stuffs the money in his inside pocket. And at that point, I pull out my gun and say, "Give me the jacket, mother effer." And he looks at me, he's like, "Are you serious, bro?" I told him, "Give me the jacket," because I knew we had the jacket. Had the dope in the jacket.
Now it changes from $20K in cash being in the drug dealer's jacket, to heroin.
He starts pulling off his jacket, but as he slips off his jacket, he pulls a pistol out and starts firing. Well, when he went to take off his jacket, I didn't, he slipped it off, and he somehow slipped the freaking gun out. And he pop, fired a couple rounds, and it jammed. God loves me, I know that. He starts firing, as he's raising the gun, bang, 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 bang. So first shot hits the ground, second shot hits me in the shin, third shot hits the pocket of my leather jacket. I found it later, the bullet, it's like a 25 or something, actually wrapped around and came on this side. I said, "What is this in my pocket?" And then I figured it out. And then the fourth shot jammed. So he had me dead to right. He comes out of his jacket, and as he handed it to me, I grabbed the jacket, and all of a sudden he's like, pop, 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 and then it jams. Right when he gets to my chest, it jams. I pulled my gun, pop, 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 fired back and ran, jumped in the car and was out of there. And I have my gun, so I raise my gun, and his eyes get big, and he takes off running. Bang, 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 bang. I start shooting at him, and he runs off, but I take the jacket, and I get away.
The story evolves yet again from Gummy shooting at the drug dealer and running and jumping in his car and getting away, to the drug dealer running away with Gummy shooting at him.
It's just stupid shit like this, and how absurd it is that these weirdos, man, that are mentally ill, obsessed over my life, stalk everything I say or do to try and catch him up. I'm like, you have no idea.
Once upon a time, I got my ass beat and stabbed while dealing drugs in the hood.
I got stabbed and hit in the head with a baseball bat. So I'm sitting against the front of my car, just chilling. I was leaning against the front of my car with my back to the front, and all of a sudden, bang, something hits me in the back of the head hard. And it's shocking. You're caught off guard. You're just like, bang, stars. You're like, what the fuck was that? And as I turn around to look, this guy's got a baseball bat. He's wound up with this bat, and he just cracks me right across the head right here. Splits my head open. I still got a big scar there. Out of the blue, I just feel, boom. I get cracked in the back of the head. But bam, and it hits me so hard I catch myself in the car because it spun me around. Bam! And I see a baseball bat, the end of it, the broken wood Louisville, bouncing down the street. I'll never forget the sound of it. Cling, 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 the sound of wood bouncing down the street. Somebody just tried to kill me with a bat and cracked. Luckily, I got a hard head.
Liar. First he said he got hit in the back of the head with a baseball bat, then spun around and got hit in the forehead. Then the story changed to him just getting hit on the back of the head, which broke the bat, sending the broken end bouncing down the street. Neither happened. If you had a Louisville Slugger busted on your head, you would be a vegetable.
And it knocks me back against the car. So I turn around, I grab him by the throat as hard as I could, and I tackle him, boom, punch him, and I get on top of him. And I start, actually with both hands, I'm crushing his throat, crushing. It was gnarly, bro. There's like, I was choking him and smashing his head off the concrete saying, "You're trying to kill me. You're trying to kill me." So his boys start kicking me, right? And they're kicking. One smashes a bottle off my face. I don't let go. I'm still pounding this guy's head. Oh, by the way, I got stabbed. One of the guys stabbed me. So while I was on the dude, one guy ran up and he stabbed me. And luckily, when he came from the side, it went in like on an angle, so it didn't like penetrate. So it came through here. I got lucky, just nicked the lung. But I didn't even know I'd been stabbed at the time because I was trying to kill this dude. One of them came right up, stabbed me, hit me with a knife, basically shanked it on an up level, tried to get my heart and missed.
First he was stabbed from the side on an angle, then it was from the front and aimed upward at his heart.
That's another thing. You told the story about getting hit in the head with a baseball bat, but there's no scar. I mean, all the dumb crap people say. If you look, here's the scar right here. So you can see it pretty good too. I got another gash on my head from another time, but this was the bat.
When a person is incarcerated in the state of Michigan, the Department of Corrections documents any distinguishing marks, scars and tattoos that appear on the inmate. The following are a few examples of prison inmates and their Otis file, which lists and describes their identifying marks, including any scars they have and how they got them. You'll notice these examples show different types of wounds from various injuries such as stab wounds, bullet wounds, body and head trauma, and surgical scars. Now here is Lindbloom's Otis file, and what do we see under marks, scars and tattoos? A birthmark on his left bicep, which is shown here, and a tattoo with the name of his old girlfriend Ramona on his right bicep, which he apparently had removed after he got out of the can at the insistence of his wife Marfat. That's it. No other marks or scars were noted on his bloated carcass when he entered prison. So Al Clownzo claims he got shot in the leg, had a bat broken on his head, a beer bottle smashed on his face, and he was stabbed in the chest with a knife, but there are 0 scars noted when he was processed by the Bureau of Prisons, which means, yeah, you guessed it, he's lying, again, and yeah, we caught him, again. What a dickhead. This proves conclusively that Lindbloom is a liar. None of these things ever happened, except for in his pointed head.
And they're like, I mean, just people calling out shit they don't know nothing about, claiming I'm a liar. It's the same 3 or 4 geeks who obsess over my life, who watch every video and try to catch me in a lie.
Once upon a time, Detroit street boss Tony Giacalone taught me to play poker when I was a kid.
Or like I said not that long ago, Tony Jack taught me how to play poker when I was like 10. I said like 10. Like I didn't know the exact age.
Bullshit. He clearly said he was 10 years old. Like my old mob boss uncle, through marriage, Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone, taught me when I was 10. Gambling was a sucker's move.
And I was taught all my life not to gamble. It's a sucker's bet. Tony Jack taught me how to play poker. And when he did that, he's like, be the house. You can be the house. Him and my Uncle Nicky taught me together on my birthday with a bunch of my cousins. And they showed me how to play poker in the game, whatever. But he also he was cutting the pots. And he was saying, see, look how much money I got. I didn't play a hand. Only suckers bet, don't bet. On my birthday, he comes in with my Uncle Nicky. And they sit us kids down, teach us how to play poker, say you got to beat the house, yada, yada, yada. So I tell the story a different time. And I'm thinking, I think I was probably a little older, wasn't sure. And they're like, see, he's lying. So I got 2 years wrong. I think I must have been 6 or 7, not 10, whatever the case. But somebody said, he's lying. Tony Jack was locked up when he was 10, which is true. Tony Jack was locked up when he was 10. But I originally told that story. I said I was like 5 or 6, but I thought, man, it's too young to try and teach some kid how to play poker. But clearly he did. So
Numbnuts can't make up his mind if he was 5 or 6, or 7 or 8, or 10 years old, because he's a liar and can't remember how he told the lie previously. We're going to put this bullshit fairy tale to bed once and for all. Anthony Giacalone moved to Miami Beach, Florida in the early 1970s to tend to family real estate development investments he had there. This is old news footage shot on September 24, 1975, of Tony Giacalone at the Miami International Airport's baggage claim upon his return home to Miami Beach, from Detroit, about 2 months after Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. In 1976, Anthony Giacalone was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for income tax evasion, which incidentally was twice as long as any other person convicted of income tax evasion, and which was another example of the US injustice system's unfair treatment and persecution of Italians, who they labeled as members of the Detroit LCN. And this is an old news broadcast, dated July 11, 1977, showing FBI surveillance photos taken in the Florida Keys, of a meeting between Giacalone and Chicago mob boss Tony Accardo and underboss Jackie Cerrone.
Anthony Accardo is considered to be the Don, or boss, of the Chicago family. With him, Jack Cerrone. Also present, Anthony Giacalone, a boss of the Detroit mob. Giacalone lives in Miami Beach. He was one of many questioned about the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa, but refused to talk to federal authorities. Giacalone faces a 3-year sentence for income tax evasion. As far as police know, there was nothing illegal about this meeting, but police did record one curious observation, an apparent argument between Accardo and Giacalone. The boss of the Chicago mob, Accardo, threw his arms up in apparent disgust while talking with Giacalone, a boss of the Detroit mob. Federal investigators won't speculate what the meeting was about, but they say it definitely wasn't a pleasure trip. Organized crime specialists say this was just one of many high-level meetings taking place in Miami involving members of the major mafia families in the country.
Giacalone was probably updating Accardo on the status of highly respected longtime boss of the Detroit mob and National LCN Commission member Joseph Zerilli, who was having health issues at the time, and who passed away a few months later at age 79. After exhausting his appeals, Anthony Giacalone entered the Atlanta Federal Prison in January 1979, and was released in January 1986, and returned home to Miami Beach, Florida, as evidenced by this newspaper article. So how did Anthony Giacalone teach Lindbloom how to play poker when he was living in Florida since Gummer was about 1, and was in prison from the time Gummer was 5 years old until he was 13, and returned to Miami Beach, Florida when he was discharged from prison? We all know the answer. He didn't. He's a fucking liar. This was how he originally told this bullshit story, by way of a work of pure fiction that he calls the Lindbloom Chronicles, that was floating around online back in 2017. Like I mentioned previously, it was my Uncle Nicky who taught me how to play poker. It was at my grandparents' home in Grosse Pointe. Some holiday, Easter I believe. I couldn't have been more than 7 or 8. My Uncle Nicky gathered about 5 of us little boys, all little Sicilian kids, in the dining room and handed each of us 2 rolls of 50 pennies. He then proceeded to teach us how to play poker, all the rules, the hands, and the power of the bluff. We were quick learners and soon we knew what we were doing. My uncle was cutting 10% from every pot, and said we would play until there was only one winner. After a couple hours, my cousin Anthony had a big pile of pennies in front of him, having caught the lucky hands. So who's the big winner? Uncle Nicky asked. Tony, the rest of us blurted. Wrong, Uncle Nicky said, shaking his head, pointing to the pile of pennies in front of him. I didn't play a single hand and I have more pennies than Anthony. He gave each of us a deadpan look, which was very scary for us little kids. Gambling is for suckers. The house never loses. So, if you gamble, you be the house. You never play against it. Capiche?
What'll happen, inevitably, will be a couple of trolls, 2, 3, 4. They're just weirdos who live in a basement, probably don't have jobs, and they'll watch every minute of this, and then comment it. Then what they'll do is they'll take little clips of it and piece it together with some other thing with a fake voice name and claim that I'm lying. I'm like, you're never going to prove that it's lying. You're not going to provide any evidence that I'm lying because that's impossible. You can't do it.
You're not going to provide any evidence that I'm lying because that's impossible. You can't do it.
Please subscribe to Mobster Chronicles, hit the like button and don't forget to ring the notification bell to receive notifications and updates. Thanks for watching. This video on Alan Gunnar Lindbloom again demonstrates that truth and accuracy is as foreign a concept to him as proper diction, punctuation, spelling and grammar. Nothing he says is the truth, or correct, or backed by any facts or based in any reality. And he lies about the most trivial and inconsequential things. And as long as he continues to scam people and lie and bullshit and dry snitch, especially about anyone allegedly in the Detroit mob, we will continue to hammer on him. Al Clownzo Lindbloom is quite possibly the most prolific liar, bullshit artist and all-around dumb shit that ever started a YouTube channel.